All right, so here is the next activity. You can put it into chat. You can do one of the reactions to some currently enjoying what they do and okay. Oh, we've got some writing on the screen. We love it. Okay, so many of you are actually happy with what you do already. Ah, I like that. The so-so. Thanks, JC. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So hopefully you're in the right place. You're here for designing for maximum impact, and hopefully by the time we're done, you'll be doing less planning and your learners will be doing more learning. This is a little bit about me. These are family members, past and present, but that's not why we're here today. So if you're interested in more, hopefully we can connect later and learn about each other. All right, so the first thing that we need to go through today is making sure that this is a safe space for everyone. There are two components of that in every lesson that I teach. And the first one, if you have your paper available, please draw the heart in one of the top corners. So the heart is for take care of self. So, no matter what's going on during the session, if there's something you need to do to be able to pay attention, to participate fully, I'd like you to do that. The second thing that goes along with our safe space is up in the other corner. Please take a moment to draw that in the other upper corner of your paper. So I'd like you to know that you always have the right to pass in this session. I'm not going to ask anything too crazy today. We're going to do one breakout session, and if that's something you'd rather not participate in, that's okay. JP is going to be the one, it says Jump Hall on his chat there. He's going to be the one to put you into breakout groups, and it's going to be later on. If that's not something that you're interested in doing, just send him a private message, or you can always just come back out of it, out of the breakout room. So the other thing that goes along with this, we're using technology today, and things always get a little crazy with technology. So we're going to expect the unexpected. All right? So we're going to laugh if, something goes crazy, but those are our key things to creating a safe space for all of us. So taking care of self, the right to pass, and we're going to expect the unexpected. So we are here today to do a quick lesson about the four C's. Take a moment to read what's on the screen there. The four C's are simple but really powerful, and this really changed the way I designed lessons, so I'm really excited to share it with you guys. All right, so we're going to do an interactive lecture for this part. All right, so what goes on with the interactive lecture is we're going to create a graphic organizer. There's instructions on the screen for doing that. So the key part here is to leave space around your stick figure. Now, if this is a little too childish for you, that's perfectly okay. You have options here. So you can draw the items individually as we go through them. So you don't have to do the stick figure if that's not resonating with you right now. All right, the first thing that goes on your stick figure graphic organizer is a heart. Now, the heart stands for connections. So please read on the screen what our connections should accomplish. Now, to help us remember our connections, and then it ties in with the heart, I would like you to do a movement. We call it physical anchoring. And all it is a physical movement to represent a concept. So you can either make a heart with your hands, or you can make the gesture that means heart. So whatever works for you. So make that heart with your hands. This is physical anchoring. This will help us remember the concept. It'll also get the people watching you wondering what you're doing, making signals like this to the camera. All right, so that is our connections piece. That is our C1, the first step of the four C's. Here's our second one, draw the brain. Now you can see here, I'm not an artist. It does not have to look beautiful. It just has to represent a brain to you. Do we have some brains? I see JP smiling. That's a hard one to draw. Oh, beautiful. Much better than mine. So our brain stands for the concepts piece of this 4Cs map. So please take a look at what the concepts should do. Now that last one, when I say it should be chunked, that means it should be in smaller pieces. So the concepts, the C2 of our 4Cs map, this is the new learning content that you're sharing with your participants or with your students. So this is the new information you're hoping that they learn. All right, now we need a movement for our brain. So if you've been through the training from the back of the room class, you may know the brain like this, or you can point to the brain that's inside of your head. So do a hand gesture for the physical anchoring to remember the brain piece. So the brain in here or the brain hand model. Very good. All right, here is our third one. This one is also a little challenging, but I know you can do it. You're going to draw the hands. So the hands are for our concrete practice, our C3. So, a goal of the concrete practice is to do a review of the learned material. And it's something that you can see as the facilitator so you know that the learning has taken place. And you want to know that all of the students have learned, not just one or two. So, you want to involve everyone. Okay, so now we need a movement for the hands. You can do jazz hands or you can just put your hands up to remember that is our concrete practice. That's doing the thing. Whoops, we got one on a. All right, you get an extra slide ahead of time here. So the next one is our conclusions. Please draw the feet or the shoes on your stick figure. And you can see here what the conclusions should be. So our next steps, that's usually a plan to use the new information that you've learned. It could be a summary. Celebrating is good to, end on a high note. And this may be a difference if you're teaching kids versus teaching adults. When we teach adults, we're really interested in how they're going to apply the learning, how they plan to use it. And with kids, it might just be more important to do a summary and a celebration and end on a high note. So, that in a nutshell is the four C's. And this, once I learned how to design curriculum like this saved me a ton of time. This is the very initial planning that helps you get all of the pieces that you need for effective learning. Now, you've had a connection, you connected with the material, you've learned some new content here, and we've learned that the next step of our four C's is the practice part. So you have two choices here. So as you're reading through, JP is going to get breakout rooms ready. You'll go in groups of three. Please let him know if you don't want to join or you can come back out. Now, also going into breakout rooms is like walking into the next room. When you're going to find something in the next room and you walk through that doorway, and that's like the mind eraser, and you get through and you're looking around, what did I come in here for? So, if that happens to you, breakout rooms are the same way. So, you may want to take a quick screenshot of the instructions here. That's all often very helpful. Welcome back. Hopefully, you had some good discussions in your breakout rooms there. Now, I want to share, I know this is very busy. I'll give you a moment to look it over. So, this is my design for this lesson. Now, this isn't something that you need to look over and understand right now. I want to share this with you as a resource for later. So, I just want to point out a couple of items about it. The numbers they correspond to the order in which I designed the session. So, I actually start with my audience. I started with you and thought about who you are, what you want. And then I kind of worked backwards from there. So I took into account the total time I had, what topic would be appropriate for that. And then I wrote my learning outcomes. Now, I'm one of those and I'm like, oh, learning outcomes, you're always told to write them. I don't like to be told what to do. But I learned something very valuable with the learning outcomes and the 4Cs format. Once you start with your learning outcomes, then you go to the practice and you say, what are my learners going to do with the information I'm sharing with them? And I build that step of the map out first of the 4Cs template, which is a little out of order. And then here's where the real beauty comes in. You go to the part where you're giving new information and you ask yourself, what is the minimum amount of information that I need to share with my learners to get them to be able to do what I want them to do? And that is what makes it so effective. You're not overloading your learners' brains. You're making it very simple and easy for yourself to come up with the content and kind of work backwards from what you need to share to, building all of the important pieces there. And this is what makes an effective learning environment. So this is something that you can look at later. I want to share with you, as I was building this session, I thought, oh, they need to know the why behind all of this. And I created a couple of slides, and then I thought to myself, this is a lot of information for 60 minutes. And I went back to my learning outcomes and I looked, and there's nothing about why there. So I hid those slides and they will be resources for you after the session. So if you're interested, you can go back and look at that. It becomes a nice to know. You didn't need to know it in this part. Okay, let's do a chat storm. Read what's on the screen there. Now you're going to put this in chat, but don't hit enter yet. So you can type in your answer, but then either put your hands up or just don't hit enter. We're going to send them through all at the same time. This could be anything, something about the 4Cs, something about a new activity that you've experienced, an old activity that was done in a slightly different way. All right, once you're done, you can show us your hands real quick. All right, so on three, you're going to send them through. 1, 2, 3, go. Very nice. So we call that a chat storm because all of the answers come through at the same time. It's like a giant rainstorm where everything comes through at once. This is a wonderful idea if you want for people to share information, but you don't want them to be influenced by what other people say. So keep that in mind if you're ever looking for an activity like that. Now, I just want to let you know that the content that you've learned so far is based on a book called Training from the Back of the Room. It's a 2-day course. And oops, sorry about that. And we also have a community around Training from the Back of the Room. So if this is something that's of interest to you, you can find more information in lots of different places, in the book, on the website. If you really enjoy it, you can seek us out for a class. And I'll share this PDF with you guys after the fact, so you're able to join the community and have these resources. Now, we're not done yet. We do things a little bit out of order here. So I'm saying thank you and giving you some information, but we still have an activity left to do. So, this beautiful graphic that you see here was created by Gabriella, who is actually on the session today. Might have been Gabriella and her daughter, Clara. But if you sign up for my newsletter, I've got a couple of gifts for you, and one of them includes something around these graphics that you see here. I would also love to hear from you. If you implement something from the session, I would love to hear about it. So my email is there, and you'll have that after the session as well. Okay, one last activity. I'd really like for you to think about how you can plan to use the information about the four C's. So take a look at the activity on the screen. So you can use the back of your stick figure graphic organizer to write some notes. And then if you would like, you can put it into chat or even share it with us verbally. Mosin, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I already shared my idea, but since it's almost 12 midnight over here and the whole session there, it was very quiet. So I wanted to make some noise.
Please do.
So,
Please do.
yeah.
Almost
So,
midnight. Oh, you're
yeah.
dedicated.
Yes, so first of all, thanks very much. It's a great session. And the action plan for myself, I already mentioned in the chat as well, the order that you mentioned.
Oh,
Mostly we select the topic, then the time, then the audience. So
yeah.
it's actually new for me and it's the reverse order. So take an
Oh,
example,
interesting.
we know the audience now, how much time we need to give, and then okay, then select the topic accordingly. So sometimes I have faced such situations that, okay, I know the audience in my community and the time they mentioned that what would be the best time we can spend on them and
Yeah,
what could be the best topic in this time for this audience that we can bring in. So I think I just love it.
great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Think it's worth just because there are some people who are kind of listening in and maybe not able to read the chat feed, going through some of the things that are in there. So, Salah, you wrote minimal viable information was your one idea. So thanks for that, Azra. I'm going to number the steps like you did, Nicole, as I find that a very good guide to what I still need to do. Um, so Mohsin just shared his. So Laura wrote, continuing to grow and increase my list of activities, work to maintain connection throughout a lesson, really digging into what I need to know. So what is the need to know information of the topics? Gabriella wrote, love the way you designed Lean and Clean. I'll do the same for the six principles. Same one for the six principles. Amazed me. Thanks, Nicole. And then Samira put, use the stick figure to plan lessons.
Yeah.
And Norham wrote, ever since I took the training 2 months ago and I've been using the 4Cs template, it really changed the way I designed the sessions and increased the engagement in my class. So there you go. Thank you everyone for your for sharing.
Yeah.
If anybody else would like to share on microphone, then by all means put your hand, use the reactions to put your hand up and we can call you out to do it if you want to. Nisreen, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. My glasses are not failing me. Hook students and activate prior knowledge. Explain the main concept related to the lesson. Um, Students apply the concept by using real life examples, and then check understanding and wrap up. The learning outcomes summarize and reflect as a conclusion. So thanks for that.
That's a really nice summary of the four C's.
Yeah.
Gabriella?
Hi, Nicole.
Yeah.
Very nice your session. I really enjoy it. And I have a question for C3.
Okay.
I saw that you put active review, and I'd like to know from you guys, this is the best way to do the active review, or we need something more practical? I don't know if I make myself understandable, but what I mean is people said that active review it's not so well nice for the practice. So this is what I want to understand a little bit more. Thank you.
So I think it depends on your context. What do you need to see from them? Do you need to see them writing something or doing something with the information you've given them? We often fall back on teach backs because it's a great way, you really know something if you can teach it to someone else because you have to make it simple enough to be understood. So we often fall back on those, but you also don't see, that's just something that if you're walking around observing, it's hard to know that everyone has gotten to the right point. And if you have something that's written, or even it could be a practice test or a practice quiz, those can be very valuable as well. So it kind of depends on your context. If anyone else has something they'd like to share as well about that, I may not have hit all the points either. Any other questions about the four C's or anything else? Or actually, we have a bit of time, so. Mohsin?
Yes, Nicole. So I tried sometimes um, changing the order of the four C's based on the need. Sometimes, take an example, I was discussing this in the breakouts as well, that starting with the connection, and instead of going to the concept, we directly go for the concrete practice with some activity, and then doing the concept, relating the concept with the activity. That's doing something first and then related to the concept, and finally to the conclusions. So have you tried that, and is this okay for the four C's? Like we can shuffle the order of the C's when it's needed?
So those are the two that I would consider shuffling if you're going to shuffle. And it can be a very valuable thing to have people try and do the thing. So practice it and then give them some information to help them improve. So absolutely, that is a really valuable way to do it. The other thing that I often see people do is start with a connection, give a little bit of new content, do a practice, give a little bit more new content, give another practice. And so you're kind of looping through C2, C3 in that way. And just because it's, very flexible, you can do all of these different things with it. You do want to start with a connection because you want to get people comfortable with each other and build on what they already know. But absolutely, you can flip flop the C2 and C3 like that. Norhan,
Thank you.
you have a question?
Yeah, actually, during the implementation, when we go to the concept, well, I found them, I found my students, they understand the concept, it's okay, and everything's going fine, and the activities are perfect. And then when we go to the concrete practice, and then I find something that is missing. How can I assess the concept designing part that it to move to the practice phase? Because sometimes when I move to the practice, I realize that there are some things missing. So how can I assess this link?
Sometimes that is your assessment. So you've gone, you realize that they're missing these key things, and then you can come back and follow that practice up with that information that you realized that they needed. Um, so that can be a really key thing, and that is also doing those loops of C2, C3. So there's no way to catch it every time. Sometimes that's a note in the notebook for the next class. Oh, this class was missing these key parts, so you can share it. But there's nothing wrong with having them try something, not quite getting it right, and then giving them the information they need to actually do it. That can be a very valuable way to learn. We learn from our mistakes, right? That's them and us. I hope that helps. Yeah, and Salah says it's a dynamic process. Absolutely. Yep.
We have a question here from Samira, but I don't think this necessarily is going to be something you will be able to answer. I just wonder whether there might be somebody in the audience who could, which is, can we use the 4Cs to plan IB PYP unit of inquiry? Does it align well with that? Now, I
Yeah,
know Joy's driving, but I'm just wondering whether Joy might be able to answer it. Otherwise, if there's somebody else who has an opinion on that, that would be. So Joy's put 100%. So if Joy says 100%, then yes is the answer.
Yes, that's the great thing about the 4Cs and the different training from the back of the room techniques is that they can be used with any topic, um, you know, modification with by age, especially with the real young kids, but you can use it with any topic. And we've got two 100% and yes, definitely that you can use the 4Cs with that. Yeah.
Could somebody just explain quickly what is IBPYP unit of inquiry?
Thank you, Ezra.
I just looked it up on the internet. It's an if I found the right thing, it's the International Baccalaureate Program. That's the IB, and the PYP is if I got the right thing, it's supposed to be it's a type of curriculum. It's primary years program, yeah, for children. Like here, I'll post the website that I found right here in the thing if I can get the URL to copy and paste.
See, we get to do all sorts of learning here, not just about the 4Cs, but about all this other.
4Cs and the PYPs, yeah.
Exactly. So Joy says it's not a curriculum, it's a set of principles. So perfect. So JC, I know you really wanted to know the why behind the 4Cs and why they're effective. So that information will be in the follow-up that I share. I just felt like it was too much for people brand new to the 4Cs to have that information too.
Oh, it's okay. I'm brand new too, but I want to know the why,
Yeah.
even without knowing all the details. I get into the details, but I like the extra resource, and that's actually part of my takeaway from this, mostly because I've had email interactions with you recently, getting more details on that. But the the thing is that my biggest consternation. I work mostly with adults, and and I'm not always instructing, and so I really cherish the moments I get to be a facilitator or an instructor because usually I'm building or designing some kind of curriculum for somebody else to teach or to just go through in a remote kind of way. And when I finally get a chance to actually connect with people and talk to them and do a training of some sort, going back to my roots, the biggest issue I have, especially with adults, is they're just not interested, and they're not, they are there professionally, and they're there as a courtesy because their management made them show up, or because they actually want some kind of information. But what they want is specific answers to their specific questions. They're not interested in the entire lecture. They don't care about connecting with each other. And obviously that what happens is because they don't care about that stuff, it's a less than enjoyable environment, and it's difficult to disseminate information when people are not comfortable, even if they're there on purpose, not being comfortable because they don't want to be comfortable. They just want data and they just want to walk out as fast as possible to go to their next task without being able to let go. They absorb nothing. And so often adults walk into meetings, and this is why we hate meetings, right? Because you walk a meeting, you're supposed to learn stuff in a meeting. Like, I don't think people realize that a meeting is actually a form of learning. It's a learning opportunity. It's collaborative in nature. It's a group learning experience, but you gather to have a discussion to learn information about what to do next, to wherever you're going to go on whatever you're planning. And so many people have meetings and they're not following these 4C concepts. They're not connected to each other. They have no idea what the meeting's about or what it's for, because like, how many times have you walked out of a meeting like, what, why did we do that? What was the point of this? And so I think this stuff actually fits the parameters of a lot more than just helping kids to have a good time so they learn cool stuff. I think it's a lot more to it. And that's why I'm digging into it and learning more about it, because I think I can apply it even in the adult world in a consultation meeting or something like that potentially. And so I'm just trying to wrap my brain around that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Azra, did you have a comment based on?
Yes, thanks. Just what you said, JC, reminded me of struggles I have. Yeah, trying to teach or just have sessions or trainings, workshops. And I think it's also to do with the mentality. I live in Germany, and I think it's to do with mentality that most people I teach, they just from the start, if I start with connection, they are, they're very skeptical. They really start off with like, I don't want to take part in this, this is childish. This is like, and I always hit these walls, always, really, there's no exception. But I now learned to impose this on them. And I know that afterwards, they are so happy. They are so, like, they feel really like, they feel very differently towards the way of teaching. But if they go through this, so when you were describing your learners, sometimes, meetings or people not wanting to really fully participate, they just want a piece of information and go, I don't want to really take part in all these activities that you prepared. So I just wanted to share that struggle that I'm having as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're pretty spoiled in our training from the back of the room community. We get people who really want to be there and really enjoy participating. And I do know that in other, communities, it's a struggle to get people to do things like this. And I think part of it comes back to they're used to being asked to participate in things that don't have a meaning. There's no reason for it. So if you look at the traditional icebreaker, it's not related to content. And so if you've got people who, they've got 50 unanswered emails and they know they have hours of work still left to do, they're like, why am I here doing this activity that has no purpose? So tying it into the content tying it into the why and sharing the why behind why we do things, which of course I haven't given you here. Um, but those things can help with the buy-in, but some you're just not going to be able to reach, and you wouldn't be able to with anything that you do. Um, so that you just kind of have to write off, a few of those people here and there. JP's got some thoughts he wants to share on that.
Yeah, the connection activity can also, like, people love talking about themselves and what's in it for them. So one great connection activity, if you've got people who you suspect are in that kind of place, are, well, like, let's start off with what's in it for you, right? And then if you are finding things like my boss has sent me, then there's a whole conversation to be had. And yeah, I mean, if the whole reason to be there is my boss has sent me, it's their boss that's failed before they've even arrived, because the boss should have explained why they're sending them and kind of got their buy-in and all those different kinds of things. So yeah, it's definitely something which tends to get foisted onto L&D facilitators quite a lot, which is like the stuff that should have happened upstream, which didn't happen upstream, and then suddenly you've got to deal with it in the moment. So I'm definitely sharing your pain there, JC. It's not a yeah, it's not kind of the best situation to be in, to find that out once you're actually already in flight with the course or the session.
And with kids, you don't get there till what? At least like junior high, they're pretty willing to jump in and do stuff until, about sixth grade and up, or depending on the kids. Thanks, Joy. Good to see you.
I think there's ways to address stuff as well. Like just straight, if you're looking, if somebody's being direct enough to give you a less than kind, uh, you know, commentary about why they're there, or like they're actually being open, they're being honest, which so that's something you can work with, and you can just be very direct with them. So like, like I mentioned it in the text there, like you can ask them, well, how many emails do you have to respond to, or what do you got to get back to, or why do you think your boss sent you, like what's wrong with your boss? Why they, and then like get them to address the issue a little bit more, and because one other thing that happens is when people share where they speak, it that'll loosen them up too, because now they know that's where you get your safety from, your connection. Like, oh, I'm allowed to talk, I'm allowed to have opinions, I'm allowed to disagree with something, and I'm not going to be shut down. I don't just have to sit here and be quiet until it's over and walk away. I can actually engage. And I've actually connected with some people on their grumpiness, like let's be grumpy
Yeah.
together. Like it's not just like, oh, I feel your pain, but like wow, that really stinks, like that doesn't sound fair at all, and like,
Yeah.
man, that stinks, kind of interesting what we're going to talk about today, and then connect them to the content that way. Is that maybe this will help with that, or maybe you should take this back to your boss and tell them they need to come to this class for this purpose, or whatever it is. But like that direct connection might. And same thing with kids. I've worked with all ages, K through 12, at different times in my past, and yeah, the older ones get a little bit more like the adults, a little bit grumpier and different things, but you can still connect. It's just that sometimes you got to have a real piece of something that they care about, even if what they care about is something a little bit grumpy.
Absolutely. All right. So again, thank you. That's us. And stay on for a few minutes if there are additional questions or you want to connect. Otherwise, you can expect an email with some extra resources in them.